Hey everybody, welcome to the Vox podcast. You got all the usual suspects here today.
All right.
Mr. Michael, Carl, Erie, the one and only Bonnie Gail Lewis. What? I feel like we need actual I need like one of those little
actual,
sound
fog
effects.
horns?
Yeah, like if we were more well equipped, I'd have that all set up. But
DJ
we're doing
Stafford.
we're doing something new that we want to start doing more often today, which is kind of like we went through a little series over the last 3 weeks with 2 episodes with Mr. Dr. Timothy Gombis on his blog work on God is not in control. There it is.
There we are. I love how delayed it was, but it was timed well with Gombis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If anyone
that was
needs
good.
it, it's Gombis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did those 2, and then we did Mr. Peter. He's also a doctor too, huh?
Yep.
So we had a month of doctors. Dr. Peter Enns was last week's episode, talking about the Bible. And then we thought that we want to start being more intentional with our themes and our arcs. And so today we're going to look at some questions and just kind of dive into that last 3 weeks. Does that sound accurate? Does that sound
Yes.
accurate to our game plan?
I loved it.
Yes. It seems after 3 weeks of doctors that it's time for those with master's degrees to kind of step up to the plate
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
and correct the doctors. And so, unsurprisingly, let's start with Dr. Gombis, the 2-parter on whether or not God is in control. That, unsurprisingly, Bonnie, that stirred up a few questions.
Yes, as we knew it would.
Yes.
But let's hear some of them because I bet they're good.
You know, yes. So these are a combo of emails we got, comments on social media that we got, and comment or 2 from on Patreon. So this is from Eric. Hello. Period. Well, I have full respect for somebody who punctuates after hello. I listened to the Wake Up Dead Man podcast a couple of times, had a question regarding how Gombis was talking about how to pray. And I love that it's Gombis. It's not Tim. It's not
It's not
Dr.
Doctor?
Gombis. It's just Gombis.
We've pretty much renamed him for just the rest of eternity.
It
I
is
feel
so
like.
nice. He never corrects us.
No, never. We just call him Gombis. I understand and relate to his call regarding his call for lament, as well as his questioning whether or not we should be praying for health and comfort, since that isn't what we see in Scripture. However, when Jesus says how to pray, the Lord's Prayer, he does say to give us our daily bread, which would seem to imply prayer for some health and comfort, or is the bread not literal? It seems like the Lord's Prayer wasn't thought of in his processing of how to pray. Please address. Also, in the vein of, quote, bless this food to our bodies, you should be praying that God blesses your podcast to our ears in the same way that I'm praying he blesses this email to your eyes. I love that. That was snarky and funny. All right. So one of the things we'd asked Tim was, okay, so what's prayer look like in the midst of this, right? You remember this conversation, Timothy? You were particularly interested in this. And Tim was talking about, there's a lot of bad praying going on. We can learn a lot from the lament tradition, praying very short prayers, crying out to God, asking the day of the Lord would hasten, that the church would be brought wisdom, that we would align with God's purposes. But then that was about it, in terms of, what he was saying we could pray. So Bonnie.
Yeah.
Master of Divinity that you are, would you...
Theology.
Oh, is it MA Theology?
MA Theology. I didn't take that extra year on preaching.
Yeah, I know, me neither. So we're just masters of arts, right? You got an MA?
Yes, MA.
Okay, I got an MA. Tim, what do you got?
Defense against the dark arts.
Oh. Yes.
He's got a certificate from the University of Phoenix.
You know, he's got a Hogwarts alum
Perfect.
over there.
Perfect. So, Bunny, what do you think?
The first thing, I'm just telling you the first thing that came to mind when I heard that. I've always understood the Lord's Prayer to, it's obviously very multi-layered, multifaceted, but in terms of the give us our daily bread, I've always understood that to be an expression that should point us back towards the manna in the wilderness. When they are out of food, the Israelites are wandering, they have no food, and God sort of gives them manna and quail rain down from heaven, and he says, only gather what you need for today. If you gather extra, it will spoil. Of course, they don't listen. They gather extra, it spoils. And so I've always took that to mean not necessarily comfort, but a trust that I'm going to have what I need for today. I'm not going to have any more or any less. So whatever I have for today, I will need, but also trust that. And so trust that I'm going to get that. And then also be... I don't know the right word here, accepting enough or be able to go, this is what I need for today. Maybe sometimes I want more, but that's not necessarily like, that doesn't give me the best posture in terms of trusting Jesus or having what I need or staying humble or all those different things that like there's a certain posture associated with, hey, this is what we need for today, and let's be content in that. So that's the first thing that came to my mind.
So would you say that prayer is still a prayer for provision?
Yeah, I think it probably still is, but I view provision and comfort differently.
Yeah.
Like there's been times that we've had no money and I've eaten crackers all day and that was not comfortable, but I was still provided for. I was still made full, and then we got paid the next day and things were different. You know what I mean? So I think provision and comfort are two very different things.
I think that's really well said. The Israelites were certainly not comfortable in the desert.
Right.
Just getting the same thing over and over. Manna stew, manna pie, manna casserole,
Exactly.
manna Creole.
raw. It's like, yeah.
Right. So I think that's really well said, Bonnie. The distinction between provision and comfort, we often conflate those. And what Tim seemed to be really going after are the selfish, self-centered prayers of American Christians that are just nothing more than grocery lists, or Santa Claus requests. There's no attempt to align with God's purposes. There's no attempt to pray through his word. It's literally just my and my wants listed out in front of God. Right. And I think God's so gracious, he lets us do that. But I think that's what he means by bad praying. Yeah. But I also see, I asked the same question. One of the things I was going to bring up to Tim was the Lord's Prayer. I also, there's this passage in 3 John, and, 3 John, very popular.
Very, very much quoted.
But John writes, "Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health, and that all may go well with you." There's enough where I think we can say with biblical justification, cast all your cares on God because he cares for you.
Yeah.
Right? That's absolutely. Jesus isn't pretending we don't have these cares. And so I actually think we have more permission than what Gombis led on. But I think he was making the bigger point about how lame and small and selfish our prayers normally are. I would then, kind of with you say, yeah, but I do think there's when James talks about the elders praying for the sick, or people coming to Jesus and asking about the details of their lives or their suffering or whatever. There does seem on the face of it to be a great deal of permission to bring our real daily concerns before God too.
Agreed.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Tim, what do you think about that?
Oh, I don't know.
Yes.
I'm confused. I'm just confused on prayer in general right now, or I don't want to say a holding pattern, but I'm just re-exploring all of it. So when I think about this, just in light of this weekend,
It's explain what you mean.
With the Ahmaud Arbery stuff, right? So just seeing the young man the young African American man who was shot down by the two white men in trucks while he was out jogging. When I'm praying about that, and I was trying, we're leaning into mourning and leaning into lament and just asking why are we still here? Why are our hearts and our minds kind of still so divided and so violent and segregated, and then it's like you're praying for people's hearts to be changed. It's like, what does that mean? If those folks are not leaning in and looking to change themselves,
right?
What am I asking God to do? And what does God do historically with that, right? So I don't know. I don't know what I think about. I mean, the Lord's Prayer, that makes sense to me. But I don't know. I just don't know. I would say that's my answer. I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the best answers about prayer in general.
Yeah, is I don't know.
Right. How's it work? Not sure. Why doesn't God always answer prayer? Don't know. Why does God answer some and not others? Don't know. Are those even answered prayers?
Yeah.
I mean, but the way I saw our conversation with Gombis was that he was taking a big swing to correct an overcorrection,
Right.
which is just the selfish, consumeristic, individualized praying that we do. Instead of corporate lamenting, corporate groaning, joining creation, partnering with the Spirit who groans, on our behalf in our weakness. So I couldn't agree more with what he's saying, but I don't think that precludes the bringing of individual concerns. I think the larger point is that Tim is placing prayer in a covenantal framework, which I don't. I place prayer in an individualized Santa Claus to, someone sitting on Santa Claus's lap kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And when I think about it, tell me what you think of this, Bonnie. So one of Tim's big concerns was to say that sovereignty doesn't equal control. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the fact that there are all kinds of different ways of expressing power, correct? Coercive power is the least effective way of doing power. It's effective in the short term, like you can literally put a gun to someone's head and make them do something.
Right.
But it doesn't shape or lead to long-term outcomes that would be congruent with, your aims.
Right.
So I was thinking of there's the power of example, there's the power of manipulation, there's the power of agape love, right? Love is powerful.
Yeah.
So I think that God can still exercise all sorts of power on the earth, if power means influence, if power means using evil to bring about good. That doesn't mean he has to control everything either. You know what I mean? The way we raise our kids. I mean, the unhealthiest kids would be the kids that we have to force to do things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think, again, though, some of these things, like what we just talked about, comfort and provision, some of these, it's this slight difference in wording. But I often see, I don't know if it's, we just don't know. We are going so fast in life, we are not paying attention. We haven't been taught. I don't know. Sometimes it feels like some of these big phrases and questions and big doctrinal points are just sort of skipped over. It's like, we believe this, this, and this. And then you're like, okay. And you sort of just sign up for it. So then you get older and you're like, wait, what? And you have to kind of go back. But again, the nuance, it's very slight, but it makes a big difference.
That's good.
Yeah.
So Eric, great question. This is from Craig through Patreon. My question is, how does Gombis' thesis affect the way we interact with the Psalms? So many of the Psalms seem to emphasize God's control or at least influence in our lives. Language like being a rock and fortress, help in times of trouble, rescue from our enemies, turning the snares of the wicked back on them, even leading us beside still waters, etc. I don't think Gombis was making the argument that since the Psalms were written by Israelites, that they fell under the Old Covenant system, and I've never thought the Psalms are just feel-good literature. Anyway, curious what your thoughts were. Maybe something you'd spend a couple of minutes on in your outro in a couple of weeks. Boom, here you are.
Wait, what's his question? What's the initial question?
The initial question is, how does Gombis' thesis affect the way we interact with the Psalms? The Psalms assume that God can move and influence things and do things in the world. Right? And he gives a bunch of examples. But Gombis' thesis seemed to be along the lines of we're the answers to our own prayers.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
I think so. Maybe start talking about it. I'll chime in.
Well, I mean, I would talk about so when you read the Psalms at face value, they're asking God to rescue. They're asking God to intervene. Mm-hmm. They are written within an Old Testament covenantal context, though. So I don't know what Gombis would do with that. I don't know if he would emphasize that or not. My suspicion would be that, yeah, he would emphasize that, in that God drew direct lines between Israel's fidelity or infidelity and his provision or not provision for them. Mm-hmm. As part of the nature of that covenant. And so the laments we read about in the Psalms presuppose a covenantal context that you and I can't presuppose, although the emotions behind the prayers and laments are certainly universal.
Yeah.
Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
So if that's true, then how do Christians relate to the Psalms, or can we, asking for the same sorts of things? Right? So is it proper to ask God to be my refuge, or to be my strength, or to get me out of this snare, or to, those who are trying to hurt me, to protect me from them? Mm. What do you think?
We will all just stare at each other. I think, I love this question because I have never once thought about if what I'm praying is proper. Mm. I have very much literally just spilled it out. So I'm working from the standpoint that God can take all my things. Now, to be fair, part of that, honestly, is because I'm an Enneagram 4. So the emotions and the waves at which they come, et cetera, are a lot. Mm-hmm. So it's almost part of how an Enneagram coach would say, one of my coping mechanisms for being wired that way. Mm. I don't read the Psalms as something like, okay, they acted like this because they were in this covenant. I view it as a common human experience of, when you're really mad, of course you would ask for that. Mm-hmm. When you're really sad, of course you would say that. I'm not concerned at all about if God answers that or if it comes true. I'm more concerned about the interaction between human and God when those prayers take place.
Got it. That's good. What about you, Stafford?
I don't know.
Perfect.
I've always liked the Psalms because of and I don't know if this is an answer to that, but it's like a weird window into, it's like if you, if David was a huge celebrity, right? And to an extent he was, but I'm just trying to put it into a modern context, and you're just like, that's the king, that's the dude, that's the guy, where there's a big piece of space between who I am and who he is. I see him through a certain lens because that's the only lens that I have.
Right.
This is like a behind the scenes thing where it's like, this is him giving an a direct look into his personal faith and his personal pain and anguish and that kind of stuff. And I've always respected it because of that. If that makes sense. Like that's the way I've always used the Psalms as like, who is this guy that had this crazy, affair and killed the lady's husband, and God was like, "This is the man after my own heart." That's interesting.
Yeah.
And trying to just like sit in there and look at it that way. So I don't know that I've never prayed intentionally the way that David prays. When I pray, I'm usually trying to make sure that I'm actually posturing myself to speaking to the God of the universe and not just talking in my head. Like I will stop my prayers almost every time, multiple times throughout, to like refocus and make sure that I am like actually praying and not just running through a bunch of jargon in my head. And so now this journey of trying to figure out what prayer even means, it's even altered that more, because I'm picking it apart and being like, what am I trying to accomplish by this, or what am I trying to bring to God in this? And so I don't know that the Psalms were ever. A lot of it was just like, this is a time and place too. Like David was reacting to a lot of very specific things, and I don't know. So I'll stick with I don't know for 300.
No, I think part of it is that, like, maybe this is so cynical or negative. I always say, my husband always says I'm too much of a pessimist, and I'm always like, no, I'm just a realist, and he's always like, that's always what pessimists say. But I think, like, I have come to a point of peace of, like, I don't know how it works. I don't know how, if I should be doing this or not. Like, sometimes I really believe in it. Sometimes I don't. Like, I'm just being totally honest, because I'm like, I don't know. I've witnessed and seen prayers being answered. I've also witnessed and seen ones that I like, these should be answered, and they're not, and now I'm mad. So on my best days, when I am like having understanding of God and prayer outside of myself, that posture, like you just said, Tim, is so helpful in picturing sort of this Trinitarian aspect to it, and the Spirit and the Father and Jesus, and sort of this idea of like, there's all these layers and there's all these things that are happening in the world that have nothing to do with me. And that maybe is why this specific prayer didn't get answered. Do you know what I mean? So when I'm at a spot where I can posture that, if I'm not grieving something or I'm not angry about something, I agree. I think that this zoom out picture has been the most helpful and has brought me the most peace.
Along those lines, all right, so this is from Mandy.
We're talking about the jukebox and the head thing. I just can't. It's like Mandy or Brandy, right? But sorry, it's just the song. In my brain, it just automatically starts playing.
Automatically, I love it. So Mandy, I agree with Gombis about the whole God not being in control but being sovereign thing. I was interested in the question, Mike, you asked about about prayer at this time of pandemic. I felt his answer was interesting, but it lacked an element that I would have liked him to comment on, and that is, what role does praying for people's healing have at a time like this? I totally agree with prayers of lament in times when sitting in silence using the gift of presence is needed. And then there are some very specific circumstances that this person's in. I'm uncomfortable with shutting the door on God's supernatural working even today. And whilst I love that, they present me with the difficulty of explaining with any real justice how God works, I cannot live with a narrow gospel that closes down this element of God's nature. All that is to say, in pastoral care, there is a case for praying and healing, but it must be accompanied with humility and with tangible acts of love. So one of the questions we were discussing with Gombis is does God intervene apart from human agents? Right? You remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or literally, is it just unless humans do it, God's not going to do it?
Yeah.
So this person seems to be asking, okay, are we really okay saying God doesn't miraculously intervene? And if that's true, should we be okay praying for healing in a time of pandemic? Bam.
That's a big one.
That's a
It is
big one. That's a big one.
I agree with her. I don't, as much as I get confused about prayer, or it's a spot that I'm continually growing in and trying to understand better. I also can't picture a God and the God of the universe that isn't miraculous. Like, I feel like that's sort of baked into the whole thing. And I've heard so many stories, and I don't know why this is true. Maybe you guys know. But seemingly from other countries, more than I've heard of people in their experiences in America, where they see like these miraculous things way more than we talk about here. And I don't, so that factors that in. I don't understand that. I have a sense that maybe, like she said, it has to do with the posture of it. I don't know, but because then even as I'm saying that, I'm like, I think as soon as I've turned it into a science, I'm missing the point. So it's like, it's a tough combo for me.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Tim?
I don't know.
I like it.
I want to believe in a God who works miracles and still has that relationship with his people. I can't say that I've seen that personally. And so I just don't know. It's hard for me. That feels like a blind faith thing to me personally. And I've prayed for healing for people who've just died. And I don't know that I've prayed for anybody that for healing that was miraculously healed. I've never seen that, and it's always been a kind of a sore point for me, because I love the idea, and I love the idea that the faith the size of a mustard seed can make a mountain move. And I'm like, I believe in God, and I'll turn and look at a mountain and be like, move. And I'm like, man, is my faith really that small then? Because I can't make a mountain jump up and run around with a mustard seed. So I don't know. I don't know that I don't know. Part 3, rated R.
Nice. There'll be the Tim Gombis series, God is Out of Control, and then the Tim Stafford series.
The much more invigorating series. I don't know.
Wait,
I don't know.
Erie, let me ask you a question about that, because we kind of hit this in our last Zoom call, but I've still been chewing on it since then. So, like, when it comes to praying for healing, right? So, like Tim just said, like, if you have faith as a, whatever it is, grain of a mustard seed, you can move the mountain or whatever. And this idea that, like, if we have enough faith, or we pray for healing, or we do this thing, it will happen. So there's something, and I want to try to go inside and make sure it's not just like my own pride or like what it is. But there's something that is weird to me about a God that's like, I'll heal this person and I'll bring life, like, as long as you're good enough. And coming from a standpoint of someone who has lost. So I think I shared this. We got pregnant with Chip unexpectedly. And so I don't know, I was kind of detached the whole time, because I was like, what's happening to my life? And then everything was healthy and fine with him. So when we were pregnant with our second, I sort of had that same excitement now, not like what's going on, but I would kind of just like, keep everybody safe and healthy type of thing. So then when we lost the baby, I carried around a ton of guilt for a long time that the baby didn't survive because I didn't do my job. So in that sense, when somebody isn't healed, when somebody isn't saved, it becomes a personal punishment from that vein. And that bothers me, because I don't think that that's actually true. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because then you do see things like, if you had faith, blah, blah, blah. But have we just interpreted that wrong? Like, what's happening there?
Oh, Bonnie. Oh, I can totally see why you'd feel that way. That is such a freaking heavy load.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And it's because of situations like that I think it reminds us that we went awry somewhere in the assumptions we make in working these things out.
Yeah.
I do see Jesus talk a lot about faith, and I do see him blame a lack of faith, like he couldn't do miracles in his hometown because there was a lack of faith. So obviously the faith plays some sort of element, but I think we've turned it into we've turned it into magic, and we've turned it into certainty. So if I'm just sure enough, I remember I was so young, we were at a congregational meeting in my little church, and the guy stood up who had terminal whatever and said, God told me he is going to heal me, and I claim it, and I believe it, and I speak it now into existence, or something along those lines. And, a month later, he's dead. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
who was wrong there, So my overall, I mean, and Bonnie, there's nothing to say to take that pain. There's nothing to say. But Dallas Willard has helped me to understand prayer differently than just what outcomes it leads to. Because when I get hung up on outcomes and think that's the point, then I'm into scorekeeping.
Yeah.
So who gets which faith healer has the highest percentage of healings versus, prayed for healings or whatever. I mean, it just is crazy. So I see praying, and we've talked about this before, so I won't go on it, but I see it as one of the ways that God exercises partnership with us.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ways he trains our mouths and our thoughts to align with his. And one of the things I love about the ministry of Jesus is that all those same questions are still there. Right? Why didn't he heal everybody?
Right.
Why some and not others? Right? The ministry of Jesus doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah.
It invites that sort of, I really don't know. And I am so suspicious of anybody who thinks they have this nailed. I think it is one of the most mysterious ways God and humans interact. And as a result of that, I think any, that oversimplifying, hey, if you just had enough faith, I think that is demonic. I really do. Again, I mean, if the enemy really is the accuser, well, that's what bounced back on you.
Yeah.
It wasn't lament. Oh my goodness, Bonnie, this is so hard. It was, no, Bonnie, if you would have been more prayerful or focused or whatever.
Yeah.
And Jesus never once says that to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't have great.
No, I think that's really great. And I logically believe that. I think that, and when I stop to think, like we were talking about earlier, and I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, no, there's so much going on and all that things. I agree. It's about the relationship, like we talked about in the dance. But I mean, totally, there's still a part of me that's like, but if it is about outcomes, I should just in case.
Yeah. Cover my bases.
Yes. But then, so now I'm wondering, this is getting into a new topic. I haven't seen it, but what is that movie? My mom has told me to watch it for years, and I just haven't done it because of these conversations. What is that movie where the woman goes in the closet and writes the notes on the doors? Like she's praying. It's a Christian movie. Maybe The War Room.
I got nothing.
You guys haven't seen that? It was I haven't seen it, but it was super pop culture-y. Okay, somebody from and so I think this is how the story goes. She's a wife. She's a mom. I think her marriage is falling apart. I do not know why. Okay. So she goes into her closet each day, and she decides it's like this war room, where through her prayers she can pray against, the powers and principalities and all these different things. And she writes Post-it notes and puts them up as part of this. And then as the story goes, I believe her marriage is then saved in the end. And so it is this big idea about hey, look at what happened. So I have questions about prayer, about that. I have questions about the intermingling of the woman's role in the home and prayer. and how we talk about that in church.
Oh, good Lord. Wow. The Proverbs 31 women.
Yes, and like
the
this
faithful.
This sort of idea that like the man's the head and he makes all the decisions and the choices, but like you have to be in your war room. Like you have to be doing that like every day and doing this thing. So that's a tad confusing.
Yeah. Well, wow, Bunny.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
I guess there's a reason why I don't watch those movies, because I'm sitting here thinking, well, you know what would be a more faithful Christian movie is that she goes in and prays every day and her marriage gets worse. And she still prays.
And she still prays. Right.
That's the more faithful telling.
Okay, but tell me this: what have been, probably not now, but in the past, in like an evangelical church setting, what has been the message about men and prayer for you guys?
My job is to lead my wife and to lead my family in prayer.
Okay.
And if my wife and I aren't praying together as a regular part of our marriage, something is wrong. And I'm responsible for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was a message I got. I'm the spiritual head of the house, baby.
Okay. Tim?
I'm trying to remember and think back. And it's like things like prayer warrior and promise keepers and all that kind of stuff that keeps popping in my head of like that were, I don't know. I've been, for lack of a better term, deconstructing all of this for so long now that I don't even remember what I'm deconstructing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the real version of it.
Oh, I think the reason I'm asking this big question is because for women, this idea of like the war room or praying, like the message we heard was also that, but like also like sometimes almost, I don't know, it's weird. It's like they want you to be really bold in front of God and want you to pray these big prayers and pray these things, but also sometimes like pray your husband would see the right way and do it. It was like,
if you have no input.
Yeah. So it was, all I'm saying is that I think sometimes the way we approach prayer has often to do with if we've been taught we're allowed to do that. And if it even matters. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that can be true of men or women. It just depends on your backgrounds. This is just my specific one. But I mean, think about like a lot of children are told you're not allowed to pray. In reality, it's like, gosh, those are probably the purest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. You know, I guess for me, I mean, those are such great points. I guess for me, one expression of resolution for me in prayer that holds for me together Gombis's big points with God's supernatural care and concern and provision and all the mysteries of unanswered prayer is I literally, my prayer life now is governed by the Lord's Prayer. And I pray it in a very specific, kind of Dallas Willard way that arrives at petitions, but there's this whole thing that happens first. And that has been this has been one practice that has stopped, at least as we've been having these Gombis conversations, that has stopped completely all the worryings about that part. Like, this is how Jesus taught us to pray.
Right.
And so when I'm standing in these petitions and all of their implications, I'm on the most solid footing,
right?
As a follower of Jesus I can be. And I've just found like I can pray that thing anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. And it covers every single base and everything we've been talking about. You know what I mean? Like his sovereignty, my responsibility. Like when you get to, may your kingdom come, may your will be done. That's me volunteering to be a vessel through which the kingdom comes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just not, well, hey God, just make your way
just do
happen.
It. Yeah.
It's like, no. I'm actually signing up to be a vessel through which the kingdom comes.
Right.
In how I treat people and it's as broad as your whole life.
Right.
But you only get there after you've talked about Abba and how he parents, fathers and mothers us, and how God, although God is that intimate, it's the God that's in the heavens, and so I sometimes look at Hubble telescope pics and just go, there's no way to hold those two together other than just like, wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm just trying to be practically, when Gombis is saying, hey, just pray through what you see in the scripture. This for me has been the richest thing. And it includes all the things. I do ask God to intervene. I do ask God to heal. I do ask God for provision. I do ask God. But it's all in the context of these greater things. Like even the petition, give me, today, give me today our daily bread.
Yeah.
I mean, that reframes everything in the future I want to worry about. And it forces me into gratitude for today, right? Yeah. I have daily bread today. I have it. Yeah. I can trust it. I can lean on it. Yeah. I can flop down into it. And then I just say, Lord, I just don't know what to do about X, Y, and Z. And I walk away from those things.
Right.
So I think there are practical ways that we can sort of inhabit some of these things we're trying to hold in tension.
Right. I agree.
Because there even is a petition about lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from the evil. Well, what's that mean? It's spiritual warfare. It's confession. Forgive me as I forgive those who've sinned against me. I mean, to me, I just commend it as an exercise because it's been so powerful in holding these strands together.
No, this has inspired me. I think I'm going to get back to the old Lord's Prayer. And I think because this has made me feel like, hey, sometimes it's okay if you don't know.
Yes.
And you don't know, and it's right. Like I am like, I do believe in the words of Jesus. I do know that, and I do believe in the arc of the whole thing, and I do believe in this presence of the Spirit in us. So that would be a really good guide, and I think a good guide for my kids because like right now it's like, thank you for my Hot Wheels, thank you for my
yes.
I think that would be also a good guide as well.
Well, and it's funny because the more I've been through therapy, to call God Abba. So I don't say God is fathering us because I know God is not gendered. So God is parenting me, which makes it wide open.
Yeah.
But the word Abba is not masculine enough to me. It's a bit of both, just because it's a different language, to allow me. So I picture Dallas Willard has this chapter in Renovation of the Heart called "The Ruined Soul," and it is the most amazing description of what the human soul is like apart from God that I've ever seen. And I picture it as a blanket. I picture it as like a Peanuts character dragging this filthy kind of blanket, behind it.
Yes.
And so I crawl onto Abba's lap. And I know this could be so cliche, but for me it's been super powerful because the lap to me connotates protection, interest, focus, attention, safety, care. This is someone I don't have to carry everything. If I'm on Abba's lap, I don't have to carry it all by myself. I don't have to be afraid. I'm not alone. I mean, just it combats all these things I'm constantly thinking and feeling. And I'm dragging my ruined soul with me. Like behind me, I'm just dragging it like I know this isn't the truest thing about me, but it is a true thing about me.
Right.
And so we just look at it together. And I mean, I don't know, it's been a really powerful exercise for me.
That's cool.
Because I do feel like you, Bonnie, I do feel those are the safest words to pray.
Yeah.
The surest words,
Yeah, agreed.
And I think they open up horizons then of, well, what does that mean? What does it mean for the kingdom to come in my marriage? Right? Well, that's not God doing stuff. That actually turns out to be me doing stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I don't know.
That's good.
That's all I got. There are several more questions, but we're at 45 minutes. So I don't know.
Well, if you're listening to this on Monday, you can join us on Zoom on Tuesday.
Yes.
Because we're going to have Tim Gombis on Zoom with us. So we're all going to get together and we're going to be there, answer some more of these, or if people have real-time questions.
That's good.
To ask him. So,
all right, so this will come out on Monday, May 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And on Tuesday, May
12th.
12th, we have a Zoom call with the three of us in Gombis. And what time is that, Bonnie?
It's at 3 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Perfect.
Or as we
And
like
so-
to say it, 3 Tim, 5 Bonnie, 6 Mike.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any last words, Mr. Stafford?
Nope.
I thought you were going to say, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, listen, one of the great things, one of the great gifts that we have in doing this is that we get to be around some really smart people.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are thinking and taking some of this stuff really seriously. Like Pete is really looking at the Bible and wrestling with what it is. And Tim is looking at prayer and wrestling with what it is. And it's fascinating. We get to kind of eavesdrop on some of these conversations and then process them. And as always, we're very, very grateful for all your questions, feedback, and input. It really does help and shape and point us in a lot of different directions. And so thank you for that. I don't know. That's all I got. Oh, I want to do a new blessing.
Oh, yes.
Can I do one?
Yes.
I love this one.
I'm excited. I'm sitting up in my chair.
Well, so, yeah. So I was reading Jude the other day. Yes. And I was reminded of this one. To him who is able to keep you from stumbling and to present you before his glorious presence without fault and with great joy. To the only God, our Savior, be glory, majesty, power, and authority through Jesus Christ our Lord, before all ages, now and forevermore. Bam.
Amen. That's a good
I
one.
like that one. That's a good one.
Like, there's
should be-
no way I'm going to memorize that one because I couldn't get the last
Yeah,
one
no,
down.
I couldn't. Yeah, I tried doing our blessing on Facebook, and I totally butchered it because I'm so out of practice.
Oh.
So I didn't even. I was just like, "May the force be with you." You know, that's all I got. I know that one. So anyway,
That was good.
thank you, friends. Until next time.
See you tomorrow night.
Yes, join us.